Hello and welcome to Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18, Public Access TV. My name's Dirk Keller. Bob Boyd is back with us after
Hi,
a
guys.
brief hiatus.
Yeah.
You were out scouting, I believe.
I was out scouting.
Hawkeyes
Yes.
on assignment, we like
Good
to
to
say.
be back. Yes.
Bud Supple's back. How you feeling, Bud?
Good, real good.
Yeah? Earl Murphy's always here. It's his show. He better be here.
That's right.
And today we've got a very special guest. Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com is back with us. We always appreciate it. Well, we really look forward to having you. He's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to recruiting information. Compared to us guys, you are.
Got a lot of something. I don't know.
Tom is a friend of Sports Opinion and provides us with a lot of insight on recruiting and what's going on behind the scenes with the Hawkeye football and basketball teams, wrestling too, for that matter. And so we thought with basketball season getting ready to kick off this weekend, we'd have Tom here to talk about Hawkeye basketball, a little bit about football, of course. But before we get into football, I thought we might talk just a bit. Earl and I are big Cardinal fans, and I had the opportunity to
You're
go
much
to
bigger
games.
than I am.
I don't know, Earl. I don't know. You've been a Cardinal fan a lot longer than I have.
Yeah.
1935 when Terry Moore was playing.
Yep. See what I mean?
Better than being a Cub fan, guys.
Yeah. Well,
25, the Cubs were pretty good, though.
they were.
Up to 45, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had the opportunity to go to St. Louis and see games 6 and 7 of the World Series.
Wow.
Game 6, one for the ages. To accurately describe the roller coaster of emotions that went on that game is impossible. The air got let out of that stadium so many times Thursday night. And, in fact, when David Freese hit the walk-off home run in the bottom of the 11th inning, it didn't hit us right away. We thought, how is Texas going to respond to that? They'd come back and knocked St. Louis around pretty much the whole game. And then it dawned on us, it's over, and we get to live another day and go to Game 7. And I can tell you this, I've never hugged and high-fived so many strangers in all my life. That place, that entire stadium, just emptied out, rolling on clouds. It was just nothing I'd ever experienced before. And I've been to some big sporting events. I put the Iowa football team's victory over Wisconsin at Kinnick Stadium to win the Big Ten title
2004.
in 2004, right up there with that really strong emotional
That was a neat
experience. It really was. When Kirk came on the field after the game. And
They presented him with the Big Ten trophy. And
yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. But it did Thursday night in St. Louis, and we got to go to Game 7 and witnessed history. The Cardinals' 11th World Series title in 2011. They got more World Series championships than any other team not named the Yankees.
That's right.
So
hey, I heard that Game 6, around the 7th inning, the stadium was kind of empty now. There were a lot of fans that left.
at the end of the 7th inning, people were not a lot, but
It was enough that you noticed.
You bet. We
Man.
noticed it. And I looked around with my binoculars, and there were a lot of empty seats in the upper decks. And, they didn't let people back in.
It was cold
Oh,
that
it was really cold. And there,
I can see.
Especially the upper deck, I'm sure.
yeah. What really surprised me, and I've been to a few World Series at St. Louis, what really surprised me were the number of Texas fans that were there. The atmosphere for Game 6 was like a college football game. The Texas fans had some of the best seats in the house. They were everywhere, and they started chanting in the first inning. And it took the Cardinal fans a while to, muster up the gumption to chant back. But it had that feel throughout the game. And the other thing that I really liked about being there, every single Rangers fan that I met, talked to, sat near, was top-notch. No taunting, no smack talk, no nothing. And when the Cardinals finally won, you didn't see one Cardinal fan give anybody a hard time. To me, that's baseball and the way it's supposed to be. And I really enjoyed talking to some of the Texas fans. We waited in line. Now, get this. We were waiting in line to get into the stadium for Game 6. and there were about 4 Texas fans there with us. And as we waited, we learned that they had driven that day from Dallas to Shreveport, Louisiana, to find a flight to St. Louis.
Wow.
They couldn't get one out of Dallas, so they drove to Shreveport. Couldn't get a flight out of Shreveport, so they drove to Little Rock. Got a flight out of Little Rock, got into St. Louis at 6 p.m. that night, and hightailed it down to the stadium
Wow.
and got in.
I think if I got to Little Rock, I'd drive all the way.
Well, I don't think they had time.
I drive from Little Rock, St. Louis. It's right at 5 hours,
Is
6
it?
hours.
Well, they thought they were going to win their first World Series ever, that Texas group, I'm sure.
The
How do they distribute those tickets?
well,
You know?
honestly, I don't know. I know
See,
the
all
season
the-
ticket holders
all
get
the
a crack.
teams, well, and all the teams get a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I know that is anytime Bob Olis was in any of those playoffs, he had all kinds of tickets, and he'd
Yep.
see that I got some, and Paul Moss got some, probably Earl some. And so I was wondering how many tickets does St. Louis get to keep?
I don't know, but I don't know how all those Texas fans got their hands on so many
Secondary
tickets.
market.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah.
how did 20,000 Nebraska fans get into Camp Randall Stadium?
Paying big money.
Yeah,
There you go.
just pay
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting this weekend. Isn't Nebraska at Northwestern?
Yes.
Yeah, they've been they had 30,000 at Minnesota the week before Iowa was up there.
Okay.
They just
They'll have that many at Northwestern.
So
Easily.
they're at Northwestern, it's not at Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
Nebraska better not look past Northwestern. They can score points.
Somebody at lunch, Earl, I forget who it was,
Yeah.
but somebody at lunch said Northwestern can very well beat Nebraska this weekend. They're due a big victory. And when they're at home, they're tough to beat.
Well, Nebraska, we need somebody to beat them, don't we?
In a big way.
Yep.
In a big way. So anyway, I'll wrap up the World Series talk here. I know this is a Hawkeye football show, but I did want to.
wondering how long you're going to ramble.
Not long, not much longer. I did want to mention we sat next to 2 ladies from Charlotte, North Carolina, who found out the night before, about 24 hours earlier, that they had tickets for the game, and they drove straight through. They were about my age, mid-50s, drove straight through from Charlotte to get there to that game. That's the devotion.
Well, that'd be about a what,
Yeah.
12-hour drive?
I drove straight through to California for the Rose Bowl.
Did you?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wow.
We had drivers,
Yeah, I was
you
gonna
know,
say.
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
slept.
Well, it was an experience I don't think I'll ever get to repeat, but a lot of fun, and
You'll remember that one.
I surely will. And I'm not going to forget the Hawkeye football game on Saturday either.
Oh, boy.
We got home just in time for kickoff, and, we've all been in discussions about the game. Wasn't much fun. Tom, you were there. Bud,
Yeah.
were you there? Wow.
I was there too.
You were too?
Yes.
I was there. No, I wasn't. I'm sorry.
I will tell you this. The Gopher fans were really nice to us. They were so happy to win that game, and now 2 in a row in Minneapolis. We had some discussions with Golden Gophers, and they want us to come back.
I bet they do.
Well, I'm willing to come back.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
boy.
willing to come back.
Now, does
I'm
Iowa
not
get?
that big.
Do we get back-to-back home games
No,
with Minnesota?
No,
Oh, we
no,
don't?
it's just an anomaly.
See, it's just like we got back-to-back with Michigan State.
Yeah.
Penn
That's
State.
all over now.
Well, that's good. It's all over.
It was just because of the
This-
changes in the
right.
schedule this year
Right.
with Nebraska being added to the
Okay.
conference. So this is how it
It'll all
worked out.
be turned around.
That's good.
It
Well,
was
Tom?
disappointing. I mean,
Oh.
that Minnesota team is worse than the Minnesota team last
They
year.
weren't that day. Now, I hate people
Yeah.
saying this. They
Yeah,
were not
yeah.
that bad that day.
Yeah, that day, but overall,
Well-
they're not as talented as the team that was last year. But Iowa's not as talented as they were last
No,
year.
I
either.
was
No,
gonna say.
we're not.
Good point.
They
And-
just gave the coach
Especially
the day
on
before.
defense, we're not.
They gave the coach an extension on his thing. He had a meeting with them that night. I can see this happening.
yeah, and they've
I said right away
This
before the
was-
game started. This
this
is they're
their
up.
bowl
They're
game.
up on cloud 9.
This is their bowl game. They use the trophy as a motivational tool.
Yeah, I wish our newspapers would do with it, what they do with that pig.
What's that?
It's front page on every newspaper I picked up, and on the side page, and they make a big deal out of it.
Well, we're talking about the
Floyd.
Press Citizen here, though. I mean, come on.
Well, you got the Des Moines Register, you got.
Yeah, but Gannett owns the Press Citizen. That's Des Moines Register.
Well, it's
too.
always
It's,
been that way.
Yeah.
Ed Hardy wouldn't say a good thing about Iowa Hawkeyes if he had to.
Well,
And the other guys that used to be there got fired, so I can't talk about them anymore.
they were talking about, we got Floyd of Rosedale, some of these Gopher fans are making a big deal out of it, in a nice way. They were very gracious. And I said, hey, just a pig. Just a pig.
Yeah, it's more than just a pig.
I know.
It's a case of if you let a team hang around and hang around and hang
Yeah.
around in a game,
Yeah.
they can come back and bite you. And it comes down to Iowa missed 2 field goals that they should have made, and the onside kick.
We make the 2 field goals, and that onside kick's a mute point.
Wouldn't even happened.
But the fact is, we were not prepared for an onside kick, and they did the same thing to us last year, didn't they, Tom?
Yep.
Yes,
Well, I
did.
realized it was a different staff.
Different.
But
Well,
the
and
team
it
was
a
just as
different timing.
desperate.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
different timing in the game too.
Yeah, I was.
And Kirk admitted yesterday that he owned it, and that's
Yep.
his mistake.
He,
and
he,
Well,
well, he should have took time. But the thing that took us away from the ball game, and we led the Big Ten in it, we're in the red zone 4 different times
Yeah.
and could not get that.
yeah, you had the
Yeah.
other play with Vandenberg getting blindsided
Yeah.
and fumbling the football when you're in the red zone.
Yeah.
He's going to get killed. He's going to get hurt bad if he doesn't develop some more awareness on his blind side.
Somebody yell at him, tell him hey, incoming or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, yeah,
it's
good point.
It's sad because Marcus Coker ran wild.
Oh, my.
That's right. I've seen her say
252
something.
yards.
What a great game.
I'll share
Wow.
this with you guys. I had a friend of mine who lives out of state email me and said, "Boy, his only comment about the game was, boy, we got to get a faster back in there because with some of those holes, a faster back would have taken those to the house." And my response to him was, "Coker is the least of Iowa's problems."
But that is
kidding.
true.
That's the 3rd highest total yardage in one game for any Iowa Hawkeye football player. And right now, Marcus Coker ranks number 1 in the Big Ten.
Number 10 nationally.
And number 10 nationally in yards per game.
If you would have told any of us before the game that Marcus was going to run for 252, Marvin was going to have 100 yards receiving, you'd said, "Yeah, you know what?
Game over.
We're going to win.
Gonna win."
But how many times have we talked about the opposite team getting more yardage than we get?
Yeah.
And what do we say? Because they get it between the 220s.
Hey,
And this is what we did.
At halftime,
Yeah.
Marcus Coker had more yards than the whole Minnesota team, and it was 7-7.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a good example.
I mean, it's and actually the defense did a pretty good job, especially in the first half, and I think maybe you could even say through 3 quarters.
3 quarters, yeah.
Of getting 3 and outs, and there were more of those than we've seen this year. I mean, the defense is giving up over 50% on 3rd downs, and a lot of those are 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and those are crushing. And they've, but they made play. Minnesota made the plays.
Made the plays, right?
Went
They
down
just-
the stretch. They got the touchdown. They scored on
Some-
a 4th down.
Some of those plays, you wonder how they got it.
Yeah.
That back a couple times ran with 5 guys on him, pick up an extra 3 yards.
Isn't that the story of this season, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's
And kind of the story of last year, too.
A lot of
And
last
we can't
year.
win away from home.
Well, especially in
Yeah.
November.
That's what I think.
That's 5 in a row road losses.
Somebody
Yeah.
asked me
Going back
on,
to last year.
on a radio show yesterday. They said, "Well, what can we draw of a conclusion about this Iowa team?" And I said, "I think they're probably pretty good, above average team at home, and a bad road team." When you look at the numbers, and it's not the defense that's worse at home or on the road. I think the defense is what it is. It's not a great defense,
Yeah.
but offensively, if you look at the numbers, it's at least 10 to 12 points less per game offensively. The yardage is down. The stats bear it out that
the biggest thing is we don't bring the people to Minnesota anymore. They
And
done
that
away
was,
with
that
the,
was another weird
they
thing.
done away with the downtown bash on Friday night.
Yes. Shopping.
Yes, they done away with it. So there's nothing Friday night to do.
Who's
Then I-
done away with it? Is it the foundation, the Iowa
Well, it's,
Foundation?
you can blame, well, I hate to tell you, but Glatt, because he had this company take it over. And they had one little party downtown that held
Really?
about 50, but they wanted $10 to get in.
Wait, we have a private company?
We have a private
We
company.
farm this out
We
with the
farm
staff
this
they
out.
have at the University of Iowa
Right.
Athletic Department? Are you kidding
Right.
me?
Well, for these parties, they get the bands and that kind of stuff. I don't know exactly what. I've gone to every Minnesota game since I've been old enough to go, and I've never seen the crowd so bad as it was last week.
Well, it might have something to do with now that it's not downtown.
I
As
wondered
Murph
if-
said, that
I wondered
women
if-
like to go because they can go shopping.
Yeah,
next
I
day.
wondered
That's
if,
right.
I wondered if it was because of the change to the outdoor stadium. I didn't.
No, I don't think so.
I would think that it has to have something to
Yeah.
do with it. More
Well,
women
It
would.
shouldn't
There'd be
in
fewer women.
October, but November sure would.
Well, that's true.
It's just weird because
The last 2 years I've said this. The last 2 years, there's just nothing on a Friday night anymore. They'd have the band, they'd have everything. It was like a bowl game.
Did you go to the Friday night event?
No, I wasn't going to pay $10 to get in to buy a $15 beer. You know, it's all the money exchanged. And no, we didn't go there. We
Were they
went up
busy?
the street. No. Now, the time of it was bad as far as I'm concerned, because if somebody left Iowa City at 4 o'clock, it'd been over with. The time was between 5 and 8 on a Friday night. I mean, I just don't understand.
Yeah, but most people aren't going for the party, they're going for the game. You know,
Well,
the night before.
not on that Minnesota one. That was,
You know?
for years, Minnesota brought 10, 12,000 Iowa
Oh, yeah.
people.
And they still could, because you know what? Next year, you know when we play them here?
September.
First Big Ten game of the
Yeah,
season, it's in
September.
September. So does that mean the following year, is it gonna be up there in September?
I think.
I'd sure as
I'd
hell rather
rather be
be up there
close.
than September and October than in November, I know
Well, yeah,
that.
But you're not gonna draw the people like they used to.
Yeah,
I think
We
it's got
don't
a lot
have
to
maybe
do
the
with the
team to
outdoor
draw.
stadium.
maybe the
But-
team's part of the problem there, I don't know.
Could be too. I still can't get over that the party has been farmed out.
all that stuff. It's
Yeah.
advertising, all that stuff's farmed out.
Yeah.
So is it Learfield that's putting on the party?
Oh, I don't know who the guy, they didn't mention
I
the guy's
doubt it.
name. I don't know who it was.
Huh.
Joe, do you know? Yeah, Joe knows.
It's Learfield?
Joe,
No, Joe knows.
will make a guest
Sure.
appearance.
I knew Joe
Joe
because
Murphy.
he
Joe
was the
Murphy.
first one I was gonna tell.
I know, but I won't make a comment because I've got a big chip on my shoulder of dislike for the people that,
Well, why don't you tell me and I'll make a comment?
yeah.
No,
I got no chips.
I don't blame him.
You know exactly who it is.
But it was terrible.
Okay.
DG
okay.
is one of the initials. It's,
Oh, it's Dave Kelly.
Oh.
yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
How
But I know more
interesting.
people were talking about that than anything.
I'll be
Okay.
darned.
They'd have it at the Marriott, and it was so well organized all the time, and it's getting too
Yeah.
much work. Yeah.
I went to it up there a couple of years ago
Yeah.
when we beat them 55 to nothing, and it was a great time.
Oh, just fantastic.
That was the last time we played at the Dome.
And that was, Kinnick North.
Yeah.
That's right.
That was
Because
the
all
Feldman
those
game.
Lois
people in the
Feldman.
That
northern
was the
part
Lois
of it,
Feldman game.
that's the only tickets they could get the people in the northern part of Iowa.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
They did something too. Minnesota did something, I think, with the Iowa tickets too, to prevent Iowa fans from
they
buying them.
restricted
They
numbers,
had
didn't they?
you had to buy a ticket to like North Dakota,
North Dakota
State.
State.
or
Oh,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that, so
yeah,
I think
that's
they've
right.
done that in the last couple of years too.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, on my way back from St. Louis, we were listening to the pregame with Dolphin and Podolak. And Podolak mentioned that Minnesota would not have their leading rusher, their number one defensive lineman, and their field goal kicker
Yeah.
due to injuries.
Yeah.
And I just thought, we're going to mow them over like baby bunnies.
Mm-hmm.
And their backup kicker hits a 28-yard field goal, straight and narrow, right down the middle.
And executes an onside kick perfectly.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, I could have done that. There was no one around the ball.
And
We didn't even run.
therein
We were all
lies the
stuck
issue
in
right
there, and
there,
the
why
ball was
not?
over here.
You know, I don't know.
Well, I'm going to just go on record and say, I've said it since Saturday night, that to me, was the worst Hawkeye football loss in the Kirk Ferentz era for a number of reasons. Bottom line, this was possibly the worst Division I football team in the country, who didn't play like the worst one,
It's probably the worst Big Ten team.
without a doubt.
Well, just remember one thing. They go to Southern Cal and they lose by 2 points.
And
Now
they
go
look-
from there.
And they look good. I watched that.
Well, I
game.
know, but it's not that bad of a team.
Yeah,
Now
I
let's
don't- I
follow
don't-
the rest of the season. I'm telling you.
They're
I don't
that
know
bad.
that-
They got
I
a
don't
new
know that
quarterback
they're-
and he's going like town.
I think part of the reason Minnesota played so bad was that their head coach had those seizure issues, and that
I do too.
kind of plays into it. They did play well against USC early in the year, and
They had a full team
yeah,
in that first game of the season, too.
but they were
Well-
let's just say going into the Iowa game, they were playing as poorly as just about any team.
real.
I mean,
accurate.
this is the same Minnesota team that a couple weeks ago lost to Michigan 58-0.
That's right.
What did North Dakota State beat them by? Was it 49 to nothing?
No,
it was-
no.
It was like
13 points.
34-23. Something
Yeah,
like that.
it was decent.
Well, I would agree with Dirk.
We got beat by Northern Iowa one year.
This
That's
Minnesota
same
loss
division.
and last year's were two of our worst losses in this era. And the Western Michigan game at the end of, was that 06 or
07.
07?
Yeah,
Oh,
hard
boy,
to-
That one was depressing.
that one was the worst maybe.
That one maybe was just
Unexpected.
because it was at Kinnick too.
And senior day
And it cost us a bowl game.
and the bowl.
Yeah, I mean, that probably, in my eyes, was the worst.
But I think that Western Michigan team would probably beat the Minnesota team.
Yeah.
I
The
agree. Yeah.
Western Michigan team wasn't bad. Wasn't a bad team.
They were good that day.
I just think this loss to Minnesota, to this Minnesota team, points out a trend that has been developing over the last couple of years where we allow the bad teams to stay close and more often than we like to come back from the dead and beat us. Teams that we should put away early. We talked about the red zone for the Hawkeye offense earlier, and they've been very good at that this year and better than the last couple of years. But we didn't get in the red zone very often Saturday.
4 times.
4 times.
Well, this was very early.
Yeah.
Early we were there. We should
Yeah,
have had
4
a pretty
times
good
first
lead
quarter.
there.
But think about that's not enough
Yeah.
for any game, let alone a game against a team like Minnesota, who we should have put away in the first half and didn't, and
Well-
thought we had them put away in the second half, 21-10, and didn't.
But you know, winning that game puts us at 6-2 and 3-1 in the Big Ten in our division. We'd have been tied with Michigan, Michigan State, Nebraska, and us.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're climbing uphill.
Yeah.
Hey,
And we have to win one game.
here's the crazy thing. Iowa still controls
Yeah.
their own destiny in the
If
last.
they win out,
Yeah.
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 I don't
Yeah.
think anybody sees winning out, but
You never know.
But you never
I know. Look what we
know.
did after we got beat last year.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
remember that, guys?
Yeah, we went to a bowl game 6 weeks
And
later.
beat
but-
the 14th team in the nation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were underdogs by how many?
We had 6 weeks to prepare.
Right.
And
I don't give up on him. I just think, first of all, when do you get a kicker that misses 2 field goals right off the go?
And he's done a good job. That was,
Yeah, he'd missed 2 all season.
One of them would have
Yeah.
been enough.
oh, yeah.
One of those field goals would have been
was
enough.
basically an extra point.
yeah.
We didn't have
Yeah.
the football very much in the fourth quarter.
No, they
No.
had the
Oh,
ball.
boy, that's
they had the
for
ball
sure.
13 minutes in the.
That's right.
That was one of the other things is through 3 quarters, Iowa had probably a 10 to 12 minute advantage in time of possession. I mean, they had been able to do whatever they wanted with the football, but just
Would-
couldn't get points.
I was listening to the Minnesota radio group up there, and do you know, you probably do know, Minnesota had the ball 26 plays in a row in the fourth quarter.
I didn't know that.
The drive, they put them at 21-16,
And then
then the onside kick,
Okay.
they recover, and then the next drive, they had the ball for 26 plays in a row.
Wow.
Now, that also tells you something, by the way, about our defense, doesn't it? So,
Yeah.
um,
and that's been the story of the defense is they've
Well, we're small. We have a very small defense.
And with Norm's defense, if you talk to Norm Parker about it, one of the things they need, the most important thing for that defense is a good defensive line.
yeah.
And let's be honest, Iowa's been pretty fortunate over the last decade or so.
That's right.
Yeah.
Of having, you look at the NFL roster, I think there's 12 Iowa defensive linemen that were in NFL camps this year. I mean, that's an amazing stat. And this year, they're just, if you can't stop the run on a consistent basis and you can't get pressure on a quarterback, I'm not even talking sacks, but just get pressure, that defense is going to struggle, just the way it's set up.
Sounds
Yeah.
like I'm asking you about recruiting now.
Yeah.
But we got 2 junior college players out in California. They're supposed to be quite well. They're intelligent
Yeah,
people.
there's a couple kids they're looking at. They have an eye
I
off.
don't think, yeah, I don't think it's final.
They don't
They're
have them.
teammates.
I said, I didn't say they got them. I said they're looking at them.
Yeah.
But doesn't that send a message, Murph, that they don't have any recruits in their pipeline that they're really all that confident with? So, you know, it's not very often that Iowa has gone to the JC ranks.
Oh,
And I think
Wisconsin
they
did.
feel a real need for that. obviously.
Wisconsin did real good.
Oh, I'm not saying
Rogers
we
1 year,
shouldn't,
he
but,
done pretty good for him.
Yeah, one player. That's kind of a fluky stuff.
But he's not
Yeah.
junior college either.
No, he's an NC State
Yeah,
guy.
he was
Yeah,
took advantage
3-year
of
starter at NC State.
a goofy NCAA rule.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But they
But we don't have a
they've
chance
got-
at these guys, you're saying.
I don't know.
Okay.
They've got to get an offer first.
Yeah.
They've not been offered yet.
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they go that route, just to kind of maybe fill a gap if
Oh.
they feel like they've got.
Yeah.
to get
One
into
of
that.
them is a 26-year-old
Ex-Marine.
ex-Marine.
Yeah,
I think he's 26.
yeah, like 6'5".
Big boy, big man.
Yeah,
Does he play in?
Okay.
yeah. They need to find. You know, next year there'll be no Broderick Benz or Mike Daniels, and Nardo's moving on.
Wow.
But they, and there's just not a, you always felt like there was guys coming in the pipeline or whatever.
But we've had a lot of people leave our program, Tom.
That's a big issue. I mean, the attrition is there. I'll go back, and this is something I wrote, and Earl probably read it back in the day in the Voice of the Hawkeyes magazine. This was back when you end up with Matt Kroll and Mitch King at defensive tackle as redshirt freshmen, and those guys came in as linebackers. And everybody was in a panic about that, and they were like, oh my God, how did these guys... And I looked at it back then, and it was based on attrition, losing guys in recruiting classes, and it was probably twice as bad as what the attrition they've had at the defensive line. I know everybody's after Coach Kaczynski right now about, oh, he's driving players off or whatever, because John Raymond, the kid from last year's
Lucky
class,
to get rid of
left.
him.
Yeah, he was, causing some trouble, I think, around, and
Yeah.
had some maturity issues, and I think he was homesick.
And getting back to Parker, very fantastic.
Norm Parker?
Yeah, but not once did we blitz.
Yeah, they didn't blitz much.
And we could have, if we had a blitzer in there, there's at least 5 times we could have got that quarterback.
Yeah, he
I
just
felt
doesn't.
that way.
He
Good.
just
That's, I mean, I
he just
sat up there and I
doesn't,
thought, it's just one time.
doesn't blitz much at all, and I'm interested to see what they do with this linebacker thing as well when they switched around Morris and Nielsen, and
Yeah.
is James Morris going to stay outside? Kirk kind of told us yesterday when I asked him about it that James is going to stay outside. Now I wonder what does that mean for AJ Derby, because Derby was practicing at that spot. Are they going to move Derby into the middle?
That was it. I'll tell you one thing, I thought Derby played pretty good.
He does pretty well in special teams. There's
Yeah.
2 guys, if you want to kind of look at guys that are jumping out on special teams, B.J. Lowry,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
quarterback, I think
Yeah.
is
Good hits.
there's some real promise there, and I think AJ's
I was
shown
proud
some
of
real
Derby.
promise as a guy who's going to hit people instead of throw a football.
We saw him hit when he was at City High, and he can deliver a blow.
Yeah, I just thought that'd be interesting if they do move him to middle linebacker, kind of following in Dad's footsteps. Then, I think
Well,
that's
do you
a pretty
think they
neat story.
moved
Be great.
Nielsen inside? Does he have an ankle? Is it an ankle?
He's got the hand problem, and James has the ankle.
The
I wonder
ankle, okay.
if maybe they moved him outside because then he doesn't have to do as much side to side
Yeah.
kind of stuff, because I think this is going to linger. And I wonder if they kind of think that he gets swallowed up a little bit more on the inside. Where Derby's bigger than James Morris. I mean, he's a
Yeah.
couple inches
Yeah.
taller and a little thicker, and maybe he can take some of that, some of the getting caught in the wash kind of
And
stuff with those
I don't
big
think it hurts
guards.
that he's also an ex-quarterback.
Yeah.
Derby.
Was that a surprise at this time that Derby moved now? I mean, there's been so much discussion about Derby, the quarterback.
It was
and
discussed. It
Michigan.
was discussed while he was still playing at City High.
Well, I
He
know,
was
but
gonna-
that's what I
No,
mean.
but what
okay.
Bob's getting at,
Yeah,
one
that
time,
Now he
was-
moves up to
I
second
had
team quarterback.
wonders
and-
At
about
that time-
that
well-
too, is
well,
what
you know-
would happen
You know,
if the
it-
quarterback would go down now.
my theory is
Winky.
that they they made the move. I think the suspension was a convenient time. I don't know that it would have even happened had he not been suspended.
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering. yeah.
I don't know that it would have happened at this point in time, but I think it was a good time for them to have the discussion. And they probably pitched it to AJ and said, you know what, we're pretty thin at linebacker. If you make the move now, you're probably going to start next year. Where
I would
if you
think.
decided to make the move after the season, I don't know if we can give you that.
Real good point.
I agree.
I gotta believe he'd be
But-
really good there. It's,
It also is going to make quarterback recruiting a real priority, and there's just
Yeah.
right now there's just a lot of names. I wonder if they're going to pick off some kid from one of the MAC schools and get a commit from him, and they'll probably have to take 2 quarterbacks. I would think in this
Wow.
class. Just
Well, you're gonna
just
have
for
2
depth
seniors
purposes,
next year,
because you're
and-
going to have 2 seniors unless you feel
What about
really
the
good.
kid from Florida?
he'll be a redshirt
He'll be a
freshman
redshirt
next year.
freshman next year.
Someone said he won't be.
Yeah.
What?
They're talking up there that he won't be. The
What do you
kid from
mean?
Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah.
Jake Rudock?
Yeah,
What do you mean he won't be?
What do you mean?
he'll be playing next year.
Well, that's possible.
Oh, I don't know.
Ahead of Vandenberg?
I doubt it.
Oh, no.
Well, we'll see.
You never know. I'll tell you what, if Vandenberg
They're
doesn't
very-
get
I'll
more
tell you
sense
this, they're-
around him.
I'll tell you, they're very high on Jake.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Are they?
high on it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Very
Everyone I talked to,
If he
best
earns a
thing we ever
position,
got.
He's,
Is that right?
Vandenberg was pretty far along in that freshman year, where and the coaches were very impressed with him. Rudock is further along than that.
Well, maybe we answered our own question when it comes to AJ Derby. Maybe he saw it too.
Oh, I think he did.
Oh, I think the
This is
handwriting.
what I was going to say.
I think the
Derby knew
handwriting
this
was
kid has
probably
got
put on the wall for him that, you know what, Jake's probably going to be our guy after James is gone. And by the way, there might be an opening at linebacker.
I'm
We
sure
got-
his dad was talking to him.
You know,
I would
think-
they
I would
said-
hope so.
I
they
think his dad was
said
too.
both Kirk and AJ kind of denied that John was even involved until they made the pitch
Okay.
to him. Until they made the pitch to him, Kirk said, "I haven't talked to John at all about it yet."
See, Miami.
I don't know if there was some Fibber Fox going on there or what.
Miami of Florida went to this kid and said, "You'll be starting next year if you switch your mind and come to us." I was in the paper.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, guys,
So
I
if
hope he
Miami's
is that good.
interested in him.
I think he is that good.
I mean, he's
We're
going to
gonna
need some
find out.
people around him then.
We've been visiting here with Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com. If you haven't been to that website, check it out, HawkeyeReport.com. You can read and communicate at no charge. If you want to get some premium information, it's pretty low cost, and I highly recommend it if you want to stay on top of everything that's going on with recruiting for Iowa Hawkeye football, basketball, even wrestling. Tom, we've talked a lot about the Minnesota game. We got Michigan coming to town.
Yeah.
Well,
11 a.m..
He did have another great game. The big flanker, I can't think of his name.
McNutt?
I mean, not-
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he needs some comments about him,
Yeah.
because he played a whale of a game.
Yeah.
On
yeah.
TV, it looked.
I wish they
And
went to
I
him
think-
more often.
I think.
Oh, okay, now that's what I'm getting at. See, I sat up there. Why didn't they throw the ball to him more often?
late in the game, especially. in that
Especially.
I know it. I
time.
couldn't understand that.
That last series,
they
we
were-
looked pretty ugly.
They were.
I thought for sure we'd come back that last series throwing the ball to him.
I thought that.
Well, the
last,
first two to Herman.
That last series, we were down on the by the Iowa sideline by that point in time, and so I'm standing down there, right, directly down there, and it seemed like the Iowa team was kind of just nervous. They just didn't react well to
Well,
it.
they
It
should have
just-
been nervous.
It just
Yeah.
It seemed like they were almost shell shocked about what had happened.
I really,
They should
you're
have
talking
been.
about that, but I really feel that the coaches deserve that defeat.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You know, Bert, that's a
absolutely.
good point. That
Yeah.
defeats on the coaches.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Kirk
no,
owned
no.
it. I mean, he.
On the onside kick alone, everyone just stood up there.
I
Look
felt
out.
bad for poor Jason White. I mean, he got
Oh.
mauled.
And then they throw him the ball on third down, last
Yeah.
possession. He didn't look like he knew what to do with it.
He didn't look like he knew what he was doing the whole game.
Well, I think we really missed having another top-notch receiver, Keenan Davis.
Keenan Davis was out.
He
Hopefully
was
he's
out.
back.
We had McNutt, Manley, and who else you going to throw to? Our tight ends haven't done anything all
Jordan
year.
Cotton got a little bit of playing time. the
Well,
first time.
we had at least one tight end catch. I remember that our
Fedorowicz.
Fedorowicz,
had
he
a
got
20 width,
Yeah,
20
yeah,
yards.
It's a beautiful catch.
It was a
Yeah.
very nice play.
But what happened to the no huddle?
That's good.
They
That's
throw,
a good
they
question.
throw that in the waste paper basket.
It was-
That
We
went
come
through
back
your
and
head
we
a
beat
couple
two
times.
teams.
We brought it up yesterday, and he just said that just hasn't been what we've been trying to do the past few weeks.
After you
Well,
win two
maybe it ought
games
to
on
be.
it.
That's a non-answer.
Yeah, it just hasn't been in our plans the last 2 weeks.
And I don't want him to do the whole game. Why didn't he try it that fourth quarter?
Yeah, or just I wonder if he'll give it a shot this weekend.
Well, they need to try something
I think they got
different.
I
okay?
think they got spooked out of it at Penn State because it didn't work, and they're like, and so they
Yeah.
could just say, well, it didn't work at Penn State. I think people figured us out, so we're not going to do it anymore.
Sure worked against Pittsburgh.
But talked to Keenan Davis yesterday, and he seems to think he's going to play this week.
Yeah,
so
good.
I'm hopeful.
That'll help.
Kirk was a little more pessimistic, but Keenan was walking fine, and he looked good, and he was out there
Yeah.
running around before the game like he could have played, and he felt like he was good enough. But you get the diminished returns then. You
Yep.
know, what if he rolls it again and then he's out? It's like what James Morris did
Yeah.
after coming back that next week after sitting out a week, and then he.
Who
rolls his
determines if you're going to play?
The
First of all, I know a
doctors.
doctor has to.
Doctors.
But then after that, can't the coaching staff say, well, we're not ready for you yet because of practice or something like that?
Yeah, or they just don't.
And I think we play
Yeah.
too much of that.
Is the defensive lineman Nardo back this week?
He's supposed to be.
That
He was
would help.
supposed to be back last week too, and so was
That's what I
Hitchens,
thought.
but they didn't play.
Well, you know, the coaching staff might have been thinking like we would have been.
They were
thinking.
dressed.
You know what? Let's save them for the rest of the season. Good
That's
chance
one
we
of-
won't need them against Minnesota. Well, how wrong were we all?
And
but-
also could see Mikhail McCall back.
I didn't. I
Yes.
can't believe that.
Yes.
I could
He's-
not believe
wow.
He's dressed. He was.
that. Now today's paper says, oh, he'll play this week. Well, we'll see.
Hopefully,
You know
Kirk
what
said he
I?
just
You know
did-
what I think?
Is that
I
good or
think
not?
sooner or
I
later
mean-
they're going to redshirt him.
If they wouldn't have, if they would have had a bigger margin in the last game, I think you would have seen him get some carries. If they would have, won like they probably should have won against Minnesota, you would have probably seen him call out there at some point.
You think
was
with
getting
4
second
games
game.
left, we should play him or redshirt him?
I don't know. Do you want to try and get to a bowl game or not? He may be the difference in.
I'd play him.
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I would too. I would have last week. Two's better than one.
Yeah.
I wonder if I think we might see him this weekend.
Okay.
Just a kind of a sneaky.
Papers
suspicion.
had him playing. Everyone had him playing.
Did anybody ask Kirk yesterday at his news conference why we didn't give the ball to Coker on the last possession? The run game is what got us
Right.
where we
Yeah,
needed to
I
go.
think.
Well, we had 2:48 when we got the ball. We also had one timeout.
Had 2 timeouts left.
Did we have 2?
2 timeouts left.
Okay.
See, the one he challenged.
But you're at the 26. Here's the thing I go back to though, is when you're in and you're in a 2-minute offense at that point, even
Yep.
though there's not just 2 minutes left. There's over 2 minutes. You're in a 2-minute offense. One of the chief complaints I've heard this year when they get in that 2-minute offense from the 20 to the 30 is that they've handed it off to Coker. Why are you handing the ball off to Marcus Coker?
Yeah.
You know, it sounds great on paper, but what if he only runs for 5 yards on that play? And a running play is going to take a little longer than a pass play,
Yeah,
potentially.
I agree with you, but I don't
I-
agree not having the shotgun. that's
I think-
my disappointment.
I don't
when I left
understand
that
that at
stadium.
all.
I don't understand that at all.
Drop back
We've
with
won
2
ball
minutes.
games that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean-
I would have, and Vandenberg would have been able to see that safety
Oh, I know.
or the corner blitz there too. I don't know why they didn't
And
put the
Manette would
shotgun.
have determined a catcher one got it close to him. He would have grabbed
and
it.
I would have. I don't care if he had 3 guys around him. I would have tried to get the ball to Marvin McNutt.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
On to Michigan.
You take one.
on Michigan.
11 a.m.
Michigan's a different team than what we've seen.
Brady Hoke is their new quarterback, or their new coach.
Yeah.
Wish he was the quarterback.
And he doesn't have a, wear
I'd rather have
headphones.
him out there than Denard
That's right.
Robinson
He don't wear,
or Devin Gardner.
Now, Brady Hoke comes from
He was at Ball State. He
Ball
was what,
State,
he's
San Diego State as well.
yeah.
correct?
That's
he
right.
coached a game at Kinnick Stadium before too
With Ball State.
with Ball State.
Yeah,
I'll be darned.
Michigan's 7-1,
Yes,
and they've looked tough.
they've looked better. They're better defensively. Their defensive coordinator, by the way, Greg Madison,
Yes.
who's the father of
Yeah.
former Hawk Brian Madison.
Yeah.
And Brian was a great guy.
Yeah,
A
great
good
young
kid.
man.
Oh,
there's one positive about Denard Robinson. There was a lot of positives about him. I guess the way we look at it, the positive is he throws an interception in one in every 13
Yeah,
passes.
he's got 11 picks this year.
Yeah.
And when's the last time Iowa beat Michigan 3 straight years?
Never.
Maybe never. Yeah.
you got a
This is
chance.
an opportunity for Iowa
That'd be
to
great,
do
wouldn't it?
something they
Oh, that
haven't
really
done
helps
before.
our odds.
But Iowa is 2-0 against Denard Robinson, and you remember 2 years ago when he played and he came in for Tate Forcier, who got hurt,
Yeah.
and
He made it close all of a sudden.
But he threw a pick, didn't
but
he?
he threw a big pick, and he didn't play very well. And last year they knocked him out of the game. It was Forcier is the one that really got Michigan
That's right.
going in that game. Iowa kind of
Yeah.
controlled Denard Robinson in that game. Now it's different defense, and I kind of wonder.
However, they are giving up a lot of scores.
This could be a shootout.
And Michigan has played at home all the time.
Yeah, that's
Michigan is
8 games.
Yeah.
at home.
Michigan's defense is giving up 12 points a game at home and 26 a
Right.
game on the road.
Isn't that something?
I
I'd
like
like
that.
to hear that.
So that's something to
No, well, that's true.
look at. That they are significantly. It's interesting because Iowa is a much better team at home than on the road, and Michigan's a significantly worse team.
How many road games has Michigan played this year? Do you know?
One.
just
They
that.
played
I
8
think
games.
one
I think
time.
they've
Did they?
they played their first 5 at Michigan. I know that.
Yeah.
So
They lost.
Lost was that at Michigan State? That was at Michigan State,
Okay.
I think.
I think.
Yeah, that's the only
Yeah.
game they lost, Michigan State.
But
and-
was it at East
At
Lansing?
Michigan State.
Okay.
But they beat somebody on the road. Was it Northwestern?
Notre Dame? No.
Well,
no,
the-
that was at
Might
Michigan.
have been Northwestern.
Notre Dame was at Michigan. I'm thinking they went to Northwestern.
Yeah, and I think that game was a shootout.
Okay.
I think that was.
So maybe they've only had 2 road games.
Yeah.
Yeah, out of their 8, I think they have 1 home game left.
Huh. Interesting.
It's probably Ohio State or something.
Probably. Boy, did Ohio State and Wisconsin have a game.
Yeah, if you
Saturday.
think Iowa fans are
Wow.
frustrated right now,
Oh.
think about Wisconsin fans
That's right.
who saw a chance to play potentially for a national title.
That's right.
Go out the door, and you talk about special team snafus. They've had punts blocked the last 2 weeks, and they've given up basically Hail Mary passes the last 2 weeks. I mean, that's
Well, I have a
there's a
friend.
reason Brett Bielema was crying.
I had a friend that was over in Madison last week before the Ohio State game. They were blistering
Oh, yeah.
the Wisconsin coach for the Hail Mary defense against Michigan State. And then, of course, he was also there Sunday morning after the Ohio State victory over Wisconsin. And they're just unmerciful in the Madison papers.
Well, you know what?
They haven't played very many good
Well,
teams.
yeah.
There, and another
Nope.
thing,
Or away from
there's the
home.
case of playing all your home games. Now
Yeah.
they go on the road and play 2 and they get beat 2.
Yeah.
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 I mean, that's the case. I mean, that's what I like about having Iowa State when we have, at least we have one early in the season to go on the road.
I think Kirk always schedules a road game somewhere. In there.
Yeah. Arizona
Even like-
State the year before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even
Joe.
next year they go to Northern Illinois, play in Chicago.
That'll be tough.
Yeah, Northern
Yeah,
put on
did you? Anybody
63
watch
points
that
they
last
scored
night?
last night.
63-61.
Who was that? What game was
Northern
this?
Illinois
Northern
beat
Illinois
Toledo.
beat
Toledo.
last
Really?
night.
63 to 60.
It's on TV
Set an
last night.
NCAA
Wow.
record for the most
Tuesday
points
night
in one
game,
game.
yeah.
I didn't even see that. Well,
Hey, the basketball team starts, Derek. We should probably talk.
we've
Yeah,
got
let's do it.
we've
We have
got
to play
Hawkeye
them.
basketball
Hey,
coming up this
Dirk,
weekend.
I gotta make an announcement.
Okay.
I'm going to be on the 50-yard line Saturday.
On the field.
On the field. My scholarship is complete. They've fully invested it. And,
Oh, good.
And now we have Earl and Louise Murphy scholarship.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
congratulations, Murph. Well deserved.
Is that going to be at halftime?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Look for Earl and Louise Murphy on the field on the 50-yard line
I
at
thought
halftime.
maybe you were going to be going down to cover kicks.
No, my one leg's not feeling real good right now.
Well, that's great.
That's a nice tribute.
And I'm happy about it and honored. And
Was it just you, or is it other?
yeah, the other people, I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
You don't care, you got it.
I don't care.
no, that's really an honor.
And I know the girl that got has I'm giving her the scholarship, and it's
Who is she? Is she a basketball player?
Wilkinson. No, she came from City High. She's a freshman, maybe
Basketball, Virginia Johnson?
no. Earl and Louise Murphy athletic scholarship. Ashley Wilkinson.
Track.
Track.
Track,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, she's a sophomore at Iowa City High.
Sprinter.
What?
Ashley Wilkinson,
Yeah.
City High grad, sprinter at Iowa.
Yeah.
Daughter of John and Stephanie Wilkinson, an English major.
I never met the
Good.
girl. I think she lives up by me.
Are you going to meet her Saturday?
I don't know.
I wonder if she'll be out there with you.
No, she won't be.
No?
I don't think so.
Well, that's really quite an honor,
Yeah.
Earl.
And she runs for Iowa, and she's got some great times. Well, but anyhow,
We're going to have to follow up on her.
yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. Well, so it's Ashley. I'll see you sometime.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you'll see her Saturday.
Oh, sure. You can't tell, but anyhow.
Yeah.
Well, Hawkeye basketball starts Sunday for both the men and the women. I don't know if you guys are aware, but at 1 o'clock on Sunday, the women will be entertaining Winona State, which is a very good women's basketball program, in an exhibition game.
Exhibition, okay.
At 3:30, the men are going to be hosting Northwest Missouri in an exhibition game. So if you
Now,
haven't seen,
Northwest Missouri,
Mhm.
aren't they in the, was Creighton
Division
in
one.
them?
No,
No.
that's Missouri State. It used to be Southeast Missouri.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But these
That's
are
one-
both
is it located in
exhibitions and do not
Springfield?
count on the
That
record.
Southeast
That is
Missouri
correct.
was
Yeah.
Springfield one.
Is
Yeah,
that-
that's where Alford was at before he came to Iowa.
So
Wasn't Allen the coach?
Yeah, Terry Allen.
Yeah. His dad was our swimming coach
Okay.
at the University of Iowa.
Oh.
well, both the men and women have a lot of new players on the basketball team, and we thought we'd ask Tom to talk a little bit about that, about the newcomers, enlighten us a little bit. First with the men.
Yeah, the men. You've got.
I'll ask you a question.
Sure.
What about the freshman from Kennedy? Can he shoot the ball?
Josh Oglesby.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a primetime shooter. I think he's probably got to be a little more aggressive with his shot.
Mm-hmm.
But he's one of those kids that when you see him shoot, you think every shot is going in.
Yeah.
Huh.
He's really, really good. Got a good court awareness, good sense. I think he'll be a guy that'll be the, 6, 7, 8 off the bench kind of
Good,
guy.
good
that can-
passer, I understand.
Yes, real good passer. Handles the ball pretty well.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have to learn how to play better defense, but that's something that comes with time. They've got a big kid, Gabe Olasini, who was born in London.
Mm-hmm.
Big kid, 6'10", 7'2", wingspan.
Isn't that something?
And he's big, and he's raw. He's learning. He's further along than you think of a Rocket, you think like Kurt Luby or somebody like that. He's
Yeah.
way further along physically and basketball wise than Kurt
Good. was.
He's going to be good. Fran said last week that Gabe's been their leading rebounder in practice.
Really?
So, he's got a potential. He'll be up and down, but he's
Is he a defensive presence as
yeah,
opposed
yeah.
to?
I think he's he can play pretty good defense.
Okay.
Block shot, come on. The thing that impressed me this summer just seeing him is he comes really well off the weak side to block shots from the weak side. So yeah, it's something to watch there.
That's something that takes a lot of players time to develop that sense, especially a kid who didn't grow up with basketball as his primary
he's just,
sport.
You know, he doesn't have the bad playground habits
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Right
That's
now.
exciting.
And then Aaron White's probably going to be the guy that gets
I
the
was
most
wondering.
playing time. He's
He's the kid from
good.
Ohio.
Ohio, and he's going to be good.
Is he a redhead?
Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah, he's a redhead. So
6'8".
6'8", long, pretty fearless. I mean, he's not afraid to take. I think he's going to learn some things that some of the things he did in high school aren't going to fly in the college level. But he's a kid
Especially
that-
against Wisconsin.
He doesn't lack confidence. He plays hard. I think he's going to be a real surprise for a lot of people.
Do you think he'll play more than any other true freshman?
I think so right now. Yeah, yeah. This team's going to be interesting. They don't leave the state of Iowa until December 28th or something like that. I think.
Wow.
They don't have a Puerto Rico jam.
No,
or anything
they're
like that?
playing. They're calling it the Dale Howard Classic. Basically, they've scheduled 3 games for Iowa at home against lesser competition like Chicago State and people like that. And then kind of the marquee game out of that then is they're going to play Creighton in Des Moines at Wells Fargo.
I think that's a great idea.
Good.
It'll be a bit of a travel nightmare for those of us who cover football and basketball because it's the afternoon after the Purdue game at West
Oh,
Lafayette. So we'll
really?
be driving from West Lafayette to
Oh, boy.
Des Moines for a 3 o'clock tip-off in Des Moines on a Sunday. We'll have that same thing the following weekend. Basketball game on Wednesday night in Iowa City. Thursday you have Thanksgiving, and then
Friday at Nebraska.
Friday you're at Nebraska, and then Saturday there's a noon game in Iowa City, noon
Yep.
men's basketball game.
Oh,
That's
my.
right.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. I think Rivals foot the bill for a private
Ah,
pilot to get you where you need to go.
I would like that, and my wife would like it even better.
Who do you want me to talk to?
I think they'll say, "Get in your car and drive."
Any predictions, Tom? Is this team with the new
You know,
additions
I
and
wanna see
experience a winning record?
I want to see them play this Saturday or Sunday and see what they kind of look like before
Yeah.
I really put anything.
Okay.
I think if they can get through this non-conference portion with 2 losses, I think that would be a real positive step. I mean,
Okay.
they should be. I mean, Creighton's going to be a really tough game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Iowa State will be a tough game.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think
so
UNI
definitely.
will be a
UNI.
tough game.
Yeah.
And they play Clemson in Iowa City for the Big Ten ACC Challenge, and
Tuesday after Thanksgiving.
I think that'll be a tough game.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones they should win pretty handily, but if they can split those 4 games and come out of there with 2 losses in the non-con, then you're playing with the plus side they can get above. I think the goal is get above 500 for the season.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you can, just remember last year they lost a lot of close games.
Yes.
And if they can flip 3 or 4 of those,
Yeah.
and you do a little better in the non-conference, you're looking at a 20-win season.
And we've got numbers this year.
And you got people, and we played Purdue, talking about late in the season, and we were pretty good.
Last
And
home game.
we beat them pretty convincingly.
They just cannot afford to have injuries, an injury
Bryce
to Bryce
Cartwright.
Cartwright. They just can't. I mean,
Nope.
Yeah.
he's he's the one guy they cannot afford to lose.
And I think Gaines is going to have a good year.
I think
I-
Matt's gonna. I hope.
I
Matt-
sure hope so.
Oh,
I do
God.
too.
Love
Nobody
that kid.
deserves it more.
At least he's
Yeah.
going to start off healthy this year as opposed to
I
last
would
year.
like to go to college and think you're going to play 4 years as a coach, and you end up playing with 3 different coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got to hear Coach McCaffrey speak a couple of weeks ago at a Monday morning quarterback luncheon, and he talked, among other things, about the weight gain that this basketball team
Yeah.
has.
Quite a bit.
Andrew Brommer is a guy that I know had put on some weight and also lowered his body fat. And I think you saw that with all the guys. Basabi's up to
Right.
234 pounds. He was,
That's
probably
20-pound weight gain, isn't it?
212 last year.
Wow.
So
Brahmer,
he's-
he especially talked quite.
Yeah.
And Brahmer will be back in a couple weeks. I think if they can get, 10 and 10 out of that kind of post trio of Archie, Brahmer, Olaseni on a nightly basis, that will be plenty.
That's not asking too much out of
And
three
that's-
guys.
and that's pretty-
10 points, 10 rebounds
Yeah.
combined.
Brahmer's a little sneaky. He gets points and he gets
Yeah.
rebounds and
If they can get something out of that position, if Basabi can continue to improve, and also
Marble.
Well,
And
they do
also
have some
start to-
size in there for a change.
and also start to pass the ball a little more out of the post.
who's the guy from Dubuque?
Eric May.
Yeah, he's
And if-
pretty good.
Yeah, if May can
Good athlete.
get his confidence back, he seems to.
Mm-hmm.
Right now,
Coach Fran said Brahmer over the summer had been the most improved player
Wow.
up to the point where he had his knee injury in practice, and said on that day he got injured was the best practice he'd ever had.
Wow.
I'll tell you another guy to watch is I know in the fall drills that Coach Spiro told me that Zach McCabe has been really impressive, and that you'll see him at the 4 a little more this year.
I'm so excited for Hawkeye basketball.
This
gonna
is
be
going to
better.
be one of those. I always like it when a team. Sometimes the most enjoyable seasons
Joe.
for as a fan is when you have the team the year when they get a lot better. And if you look at, I look
Yeah.
back at Fran's resume when he's traveled to different places from Lehigh to Greensboro to Siena. That second year is where he starts to really make that leap. There's usually a 5 to 7 game improvement at minimum in what he does.
Good.
Well, we've got about 4 minutes here, guys, to wrap this up.
Should talk some high school football.
We've got some high school football to talk about. The bad news is City High lost to Cedar Falls on Monday night. Their season is finished at 8-3. But West High, on the other hand, just totally took it to North Scott, a team that beat them badly last year in the playoffs. West High is going to host
Bettendorf.
on Friday night.
That'll be a game worth watching.
Oh,
if
yeah.
if you can go over to West. Bettendorf's pretty good.
Bettendorf is 10-1, and like Tom said, a very good football team.
Traditional
They're
power.
always
Yeah.
good.
They've got some pretty good players. They got a nice junior quarterback. Got a good linebacker, Matt Shaw, who I haven't seen the stats, but he probably broke Pat Anger's career record for tackles in Bettendorf.
Wow.
They always seem to stop in
Are we recruiting him, Tom?
Iowa
A
State
little bit.
Bettendorf,
I don't know
don't
if
they?
he's a high D1 kid. I think
Okay.
if he gets an offer from Iowa, it's going to be one of those late offers
Uh-huh.
like you see with the Brandon Myers, Mike Elgins of the world.
Yeah.
Alan Reisner. They've had some
Mike
pretty good
Elgin,
success.
isn't
Pretty good success with those guys that they offer at the last minute.
Yeah.
In-state
Yeah.
kids.
Now, Regina won.
See, what's nice about this,
About what?
West High plays Friday night, Regina plays Monday night.
Yep.
Monday night.
So you can go to
At
both
Mediapolis, correct?
games. Right.
Yeah.
Regina's going to face 10-1 Mediapolis. This will be a good game.
No, 11-11.
They're 11-0.
They're both 11-0.
Yeah, Mediapolis.
You are right. 11-0. Mediapolis, a good Mediapolis team. They're not the only teams from the area that are still alive in the playoff. We know
Bears.
Solon got beat by
How about that? You didn't.
West Branch is 9-2, and they beat Turkey Valley in a really exciting game Monday night, 27-20. And they are going to host number 7 Alburnett, who is undefeated and 11-0. That game is on Monday night.
And they beat West Branch, the second game of the season.
Oh, I don't
Oh, okay.
remember that. Oh, well, there's some motivation.
Yeah.
Where was that game? Do you remember?
At Alburnett.
It was. Okay.
Okay.
I think Butch Peterson will have the Bears ready to play.
He'll be ready.
Yes, he will. And we can't forget number 6 Lone Tree, whose record is 10-1. They slipped past BGM on a block extra point and will host Lisbon, undefeated Lisbon, on
beat 'em.
Friday night.
And Lisbon whopped them.
Yeah.
Game their only defeat.
So,
Yeah.
Now, the good thing about that one is that Lone Tree.
yeah,
Yeah.
at Lone Tree. Guys, every time Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com comes to the show, it goes way too fast. There's too much to talk about. Tom, can't thank you enough for being here.
Love
We'd
being
like you
here.
to come back soon. But until then, on behalf of Bob Boyd and Bud Supel, Earl Murphy, and Tom Kakert, I'm Dirk Keller, thanking you for watching Sports Opinion every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on Channel 18 and every Sunday night at 6 p.m. If you need to view it online, you can go to my Facebook page anytime or go to patv.tv and you can view it there. On behalf of all the guys, thanks for watching, and remember, either you're a Hawk or you're not. Go Hawks and beat the Wolverines.